Welcome back to the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden, and our expert as usual, Motorhome Matt Sims. In today's programme, we're going to be talking about moving into a motorhome for your retirement. That's coming up. But first of all, Matt, welcome along.
Thanks, Keith. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. All the better, as I always say, for being here with you.
It's my pleasure.
Now, we've been doing news at the top of this podcast for the last few episodes. We're going to continue doing that. And also, we're going to be asking you to get in touch and talking about some of the emails we've been receiving from you. That's later on. But right now, let's get into the news, shall we? And it's the NEC show, the big show, Matt. For people who aren't in the business, who have never been before, just explain what it is. And also your involvement.
Well, yeah, it's exciting. So the Motorhome and Caravan Show, woohoo, 2022 is back at the NEC in Birmingham, the National Exhibition Centre, in October. It's a huge show. It takes over most of the exhibition centre. It's one of the biggest consumer shows in the UK. All new motorhomes, campervans, caravans, new products, accessories. It's massive. It runs from Tuesday the 18th of October until Sunday 23rd of October. So it's a 6-day show. And so plenty of time to get there and have a wander around. 2 or 3 days easily you could take to wander the whole show. We've got a stand at it. We're going to be taking the podcast up to Birmingham to the show. And the Motorhome Matt podcast has its own stand, which is the very first time a podcast has been featured at the show. So that's really exciting. We've taken over lots of the atrium, so the outer area as well, with some sponsorship. So you cannot miss the podcast. I am there on it's huge, ridiculous. We've also taken over Birmingham International Station. So if you're heading to the NEC on the train, you will encounter the podcast. We've taken over the entire station at Birmingham International. So it's very exciting. We're just really keen to promote the podcast so we get more people engaging with it. We've had lots and lots of positive feedback of how useful it's been, particularly people who've never had a motorhome or caravan or campervan before. So yeah, if you're heading to the NEC, do come and say hello. We will be there. We're building a little studio on the stand, so we'll be recording lots of episodes, hopefully from the show, as well as maybe doing some live stuff as well. So it's going to be good.
It's going to be fantastic. And of course, your chance to get in touch. I've already mentioned it once, but stay tuned because we've got some emails from you that we're going to be answering. Let's talk about something which happened a little while back. So it's not hot news, but it still is news. It's the refusal of planning in the West Country for a couple of really quite established businesses that cater to the motorhome and caravanning industry.
Yeah, well, this has been in the news very recently. Dartmoor have been reviewing their wild camping rules. Wild camping is a big topic in the UK, and we did a podcast on this, and it's generated lots and lots of comment and feedback. I talk about it in terms of taking a motorhome off the road and stopping somewhere and setting up an encampment. That's how people often refer to that as wild camping. Wild camping is actually you with a backpack and a tent and camping out at sundown, leaving at sunrise, and leave no trace. That's the key. So it's this phrase that gets overused, and Dartmoor have been reviewing this very, very recently. But one of my favourite places to stop on our way to Cornwall is the Jamaica Inn on Bodmin Moor in Cornwall, North Cornwall, and it's a brilliant halfway for us leaving from Bristol, and we'll stop there, have a meal, and £10 we can park in their car park. And they actually applied to build a campsite next to the pub, and the planning application was refused. And interestingly, it was refused on the grounds that by the council because of the visual impact it would have. So colourful tents and lots of white caravans and motorhomes, I guess, being visual on the hill from various viewpoints. And also the risk of traffic accidents on the A30, which I read and thought, well, the A30 is really busy. And actually from stuff blowing into the road. That was their logic. How often does a gazebo blow into a road? Has it ever happened to you? I don't know. I mean, if it gets windy, I'll put my awning or gazebo away. So I guess, if that did happen, that would be pretty disastrous. How likely is that to happen? But anyway, for the Jamaica Inn, currently their planning application's been refused, which I think is a great shame, but there we are.
Okay, then, we're talking today about retiring. And
you would be.
Yeah.
Go again.
Okay, we're talking about retiring and using your motorhome to do it. I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, and it's quite a step, isn't it, Matt? We're talking about people who are selling up bricks and mortar and going to live in a motorhome or a caravan. Tell us more about it.
Well, yeah, and lots of people do. And lots of people dream, even more dream of it and never do it. That's a big step. I mean, you're close to retirement, aren't you? You must be.
Me, I'm semi-retired. This is why I'm here, Matt.
Yeah, that's true.
This is leisure time activity for me. I mean, it's the leisure industry, isn't it? Can't you tell by the way I'm dressed?
You got kicked out of the BBC.
Yeah, I got kicked out of the BBC. They said, you're too old, you're too fat, and you're too bald.
On your way, son.
Yeah.
But so for you, I mean, would you be prepared to sell the house, sell the cars, sell the furniture, give it all up, all the trappings of conventional life, and move into a motorhome and go travelling? Would you do that?
I don't think I would do that. No, I think that's a big leap. I admire the people who do it greatly, but it's not for me.
But there's lots of people who at that stage in life, so let's say 50-something, so they are retiring or taking redundancy, perhaps early retirement, early redundancy, and they've been given an opportunity. They've been given the gift of this opportunity to pursue a dream. Now, actually taking that step into that dream, it seems to me like a huge leap. And I'm a keen motorhomer. Would I be prepared to give up all those securities? Well, I caught up with some friends of mine who've done exactly that. Paul's in the police force for a long time, whole working career in the police, and retired and had a dream of living in the motorhome. And I had a chance to catch up with them over a Zoom call. They're in France, in their motorhome. And I started by saying, Paul, what inspired you to do this?
Travel, we all had a hankering to live in the sunshine, but we could never decide on where we wanted to live. One day it would be France, one day it would be Spain, then we'd move somewhere else. And we discussed various options. And over that sort of period when we were still working, we had motorhomes, we had a caravan, we camped all our lives, and we toured Europe with various aspects. Now, I was very lucky that I could retire at 55 and get a pension. So I took my pension, but I actually went back to work part-time afterwards, during the pandemic mainly. And I think it got to us when we kind of done it for a couple of years, this part-time working, and we decided that enough was enough. So we looked at some properties in Spain, which weren't suitable. We didn't really like them. Then we looked at some other properties, and we were in Spain again, and we were driving back towards Malaga, and we discussed about having a motorhome anyway and doing things, and then we kind of put it on the back burner.
Well, I think the pandemic.
And the pandemic was,
people,
yeah.
My father died, my sister-in-law died unexpectedly, and I think it made us restart.
Just realise,
and think, do you know what? Life's really short, and you really have to do this if you can. If you've got the opportunity, don't waste it. And I think that was the main.
Yeah, and I think because we were in a better position financially, which was very lucky because we could retire early. And I said we were driving back to Malaga, and we were on the motorway or whatever it is in Spain, and there was the snow-capped mountains and the things were in blossom. And I know it sounds a bit corny, but we got overtaken by a motorhome. And we were driving towards Malaga, and it said Cadiz so many kilometers. And we just looked at each other and went, this is what we got to do. And it was one of those moments where we were just driving through Spain.
Yeah.
And we just came home. Go on.
So just backtrack a bit then. So what did you do for a living, Paul? What was your job?
So I was in the police for 31 years.
Right.
So
and Michelle, what were you doing?
And I worked in administration in the NHS. So I didn't, I can't claim to have retired officially.
But you quit. With the pension. She quit.
I just quit.
So that
so some very jealous colleagues.
Yes, I bet. Well, they are now. Look at you. Look at you. So where are you now? Where in the world are you?
So we are currently in Ile de Ré, which is just off La Rochelle. And since we left home, this is our 9th campsite, our 9th place where we are. We've been in France now for nearly 6 weeks, or just over 6 weeks, I think. We've travelled down through Brittany. We came down into where do we go? Vannes, and then we went to Saint-Jean-de-Monts, and then we've been inland a little bit, and then we've come back out to the coast. and just learning all the way. But going back to what we were saying, one of our why we did things as well is both Michelle and I started work, as most people did in those days, at 16. We never went to university. We never had a gap year. We never did anything like that. And so we just felt, as we got that bit older and we were in a position to do it, and as Michelle said, with different things that happened in the family, that we wanted to basically have an adventure. And that's what it was. We just wanted an adventure. And, we sat and discussed this for hours, as you can imagine, because it's not an easy thing to decide. And we toyed with the idea of keeping the house or not keeping the house. And one of the things that we talked to other people was that they have that commitment still back in the UK. So they don't give it their 100% when they go away, if that makes sense, because they've still got maybe somebody in their house or trying to look after their house and garden. And so we made that decision to sell the house and put all our furniture in storage, which was fairly radical. I know when we spoke to family and friends, they were very, very surprised. We lived in a very old cottage in a very nice part of the world. But we literally, we got rid of the house. Michelle came home one day from somewhere and I said, the removal people will be here on the 25th of April. And I'd literally gone and booked the removals. And that was it. We were committed to a date. And so come the prior to the 25th, we kind of cleared the house and we got rid of a lot of our stuff because you know what it's like, you accumulate a lot of things over the years. So we gave a lot of stuff away to people who perhaps couldn't afford it. So like a lot of our white goods and, things that weren't really of value. So we thought we'd rather help somebody else out. And so we gave a lot of stuff away, didn't we? Mm. And then we've put all the rest of the stuff in storage. And it was quite spooky and quite scary on the 25th of April when we finally had a friend turn up to sort of take us to the van. Because that was it. We committed ourselves and away we go. So that was 2 months ago. We obviously made that decision and left our house. We sold our cars, literally sold everything.
It just feels really natural though, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like we're sort of, I don't know, I don't really feel like I'm really doing it. It's a bit bizarre, really.
Well, I think it's a good test that in 2 months, I've never missed our house. I've never missed anything like that. I've not sort of thought, oh, we haven't made the right decision. And, we
because you can FaceTime people in England. You can still see people. It's like, it doesn't, I mean, how often did we see people anyway? I mean, so I don't think we've sort of missed that. People have come over and seen us. My brother's coming over, so it doesn't feel like. No,
we've met friends who are on holiday over here. We met them, so we've kind of caught up with those. We've got some more friends coming over in August, so we're going to catch up with them. We've got some other friends who live in France, and we're going to go and see them for a few days later in the month. So yeah, I mean, like Michelle said, it's not like we've cut ourselves off, and it's not like with the technology that's available these days, we stay in touch. I mean, one of the funniest things, I know it sounds awful, but my parents have now bought an iPad. And so every Sunday at 6 p.m. GMT, we speak to my mum and dad who are in their 80s.
We say speak to them.
I get to see their lounge ceiling, their heads, the top of my head, dad's head. He hasn't quite sussed out what the iPad is. But I get to chat to my mum and dad every week, which is great.
I think you've still got contact.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a son who's 24, who's in the army. And we probably speak to George every day, every other day, which we always did anyway. I mean, bless him, he's got a very busy career. And we only ever saw him a couple of times a year with his job. And so he'll come over and see us at some point. Like Michelle said, her brother's coming to see us here next Thursday. He's flying into Bordeaux and then he's coming to stay here for 5 days.
Right.
So, we get to see everybody and speak to everybody.
So what's fascinating is just listening to you talking there, all that stuff you owned, I've taken from this is where you value what's important to you. All that stuff you've sold, you haven't missed any of it. But what you're hanging on to is family. And in fact, you can speak to family.
Absolutely, and that's the most important thing. And you know, possessions are. And when we were clearing the house out, we suddenly realised why are we storing all this stuff that we've probably not seen for I don't know how long. We've never used it. And it's just, we've kept things like obviously family photographs and, you know, all our important things. Don't get me wrong, we've got quite a lot of stuff stored, but it was things that were not important to us. And, you know, your family's more important than your friends. But I think the bottom line is it's just...
You can live a really simple life.
Yeah.
And I don't think you realise you can until you actually do it. But you can. And, you know, I didn't think I could ever live out of a really tiny little wardrobe and a few little drawers, but you can.
Can I just say that Michelle getting rid of all her clothes and shoes was hilarious? Okay, because we'd have had to have a trailer on the back of this thing if we just bought all her clothes and shoes. But
I have to say,
good.
You have to say you are in a lovely motorhome. So tell us, what is the motorhome? Just tell our listeners what you're in.
So we did a lot of research. I mean, I'm talking a lot of research, and the layout that suited Michelle and I perfectly is an auto trail Comanche. So we have got a tag axle. It's 8.7 meters long. It has a fixed island bed, which is perfect, which gives us loads and loads of storage. I mean, we've got storage under the bed and obviously wardrobes. It then gives us the ability to live in the van. So we have a shower, obviously toilets, that type of thing. And I know some people are very loath to use the shower and toilets in the motorhome, but we kind of thought, well, it's our van, we'll kind of do what we want with it. So we tend to use, or certainly Michelle does, use the shower and whatever all the time. Depending on what site we're on, we will. You've got a proper lounge in here now.
I think for me, it was important to have big sofas so that we could both have a sofa each in the evenings if we wanted to, if the weather was rubbish, you know, and you want to watch the telly.
Yeah.
So that was really important. So some people would rather have, a different layout and have the sort of table and chairs in here. But for us, it was because we're living in it permanently. It's not just a weekend or a week. It was important to be comfortable like you were at home.
Don't laugh. We even have the plants in here. So we make it very homely. We've got photographs up on the wall of our son and us, and you know we've made it ours. At the end of the day, some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have put things on the walls or whatever," but it's our home. So
yeah, of course,
we made it as homely as we possibly could. We were very fortunate. We bought the van second hand, although we got a good deal on it, but it had all the extras we wanted as well. So we've got full satellite television, so we can watch all the UK channels and whatever. We've also got a Fire Stick, so we can watch all the catch-up channels, Netflix, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's got full habitation air conditioning, which you think, okay, is that really necessary? We've actually used it on a few occasions already because it's been so hot at night. So we've used the air conditioning. We've also got a 150 watt solar panel on the roof, which does the leisure batteries and does the van battery, which I thought was quite important if we're parked up for quite some time.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things for us is, for me, I've got the refillable gas system. So we got the gas flow system.
Yeah.
That was an interesting one. We had to fill it up for the first time in France on the way here, which I think the French have their gas on the other side. So we had to go into this supermarket garage with nearly 9 meters with the bikes on the back, and then reverse all the way through the petrol station to try and get to the gas pump, and then we had to get the right adapter because they have the different adapters. So really, we chose the van because of the layout, because of the storage, and it suits us perfectly for what we want.
And are you mostly on campsites, or where are you staying?
Well, we initially, before we came away, we thought we'd do a combination of campsites, as we had France Passion as well. We've now got, and I'm sure people have heard of it, it's a thing called an Axi card, which we were unaware of, unfortunately, before we came away. We've now got an Axi card, and I'll be honest with you, it's not worth it financially, we don't think, to stay anywhere else other than a campsite, because we're paying here. We're in Ile de Ré, we're on a 4-star site, we've got a swimming pool, there's a restaurant and bar and really good showers and toilets, and we're paying €18 a night.
Wow.
So what's that? £15 a night.
Yeah.
And that's with hookup. It's enough electric we can run our aircon. So
the Axie card though is an out of season card you use, but their season's very short. So you're basically using it all the time, apart from it's July and August, is it?
Well, high season doesn't even start over here until the 9th of July.
Yeah.
And it finishes on the 28th of August. So apart from that period, we can use the Axie card all the time.
Yes.
Some of the
I definitely recommend get your Axie card.
Get an Axie card. I mean, some of the sites here are really good sites, and they're as low as €12 a night with hookup.
It just doesn't make sense, did it, to go into into what, because the airs, some of them are quite close to the campsites, and you see them sort of in there, and it's just a car park, and you think, gosh, they could have paid just a couple of euros extra and got a pool and and
shower block,
nicer facilities.
Well, the last site we were in, the last site we were in, the air was €10 a night, and they had that literally, Michelle said it was a car park with nothing. No hookup or anything. We were paying €18 a night. We had hookup, showers, toilets, and a swimming pool. Yeah. Well, for us, it's a no-brainer. I'd rather stay somewhere like that.
And I've seen a pic of the pool, and it looks lovely.
We felt a little bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. You wouldn't enjoy it, honestly. It's just a horrible. So we've decided. We made that decision that our budget will run to quite easily us staying on sites. So we have decided that that's where we're going to do. We feel more comfortable doing that as well. So when we leave here, we're actually booked in, because it gets a bit more expensive. Obviously, we've allowed for July and August being more money because we can't use our Axie card. But the next site we're on in the Dordogne is adults only. So we've got 10 nights on an adult-only site.
You can mix it up, can't you?
Yeah.
I was going to say, you don't. You can be flexible, can't you? And you can see, where you end up, and you've got that freedom. That's the whole thing, isn't it? The freedom.
Absolutely. And the other thing is we realise now you don't need to pre-book your sites. If it's out of season, you don't need to pre-book your sites.
Which we didn't realise.
But the only caveat, and the only thing I would say to anybody is make a note of all the public holidays in France.
Yeah, there's a lot in May.
There's 11 bank holidays in France, and the majority literally every week. And bank holidays aren't a Friday or a Monday; they have a Thursday. So everyone then takes the Friday off work, and so those weekends.
What we did was we just altered our plan slightly and didn't travel. On the days when they would be travelling and going home, things like that.
And the other great thing is over here that you can book in, but you don't pay for your campsite until the end. So if you book in for 2 nights or 3 nights, and then you think actually this is really lovely, but stay a little bit longer. An example was the site before here. We initially booked in for 6 nights. And it was lovely. We had some friends call over, so we stayed a bit longer.
That was Coulon.
Yeah, in Coulon, and we ended up staying for 18 nights because it was just lovely. It was but we hit the 2 bank holidays, so we kind of kept extending it to cover the bank holidays, so we weren't travelling.
And we watched the site just fill up, didn't we? Fill up with all the French coming on holiday and then going again, and we thought, we did the right decision.
Yeah, definitely made
stay
the right
put.
decision.
But then equally, if you don't like somewhere, you've got the flexibility to leave. So that's what's nice about not having to sort of book up.
It's not like in the UK you have to book for your week, and let's say you're committed to the week or weekend or whatever. You can, they're very flexible, very flexible.
So you've got some long-term plans as well. This is not just this summer, is it? Sold the house, you're committed.
Absolutely not. Well, we're very lucky in the fact that Michelle has an Irish passport. So I have a UK passport and Michelle has an Irish passport. And so before we came away, which is one of the decisions we influenced us really, we did a lot of research. And because Michelle has got an EU passport, and I have to just read this because I can never remember it, but under Article 6 of the Directive 2004, because we're married and I have the right to remain in the EU with Michelle, we're exempt from the 90 days because Michelle has the EU passport. I have a right to remain with her because we're married, and so therefore we're not stuck with the 90 days. So hence the reason of doing the trip as well.
Only thing is, I would say is, you think, oh, great, but actually we do have to come back in February next year. You have to come back to MOT the van.
We're going to have to come back, to MOT the van.
So you've got a year, which is great, but you do, if your van is registered in England, in UK, you have to go back and get it MOT'd, which is the downer, but you can,
it's not the end of the world, because we've incorporated it in what we want to do. So the idea is that when we leave here now, because obviously we're in the southwest of France, we're going to go down to the Dordogne, which is an area we particularly wanted to explore. So we're down there for 2 months in the Dordogne. We've got various places plotted out already so that we can explore the Dordogne in some style. And I think we're looking, because we're meeting some friends down there towards the end of August, and I think they go on the 6th of September. So we're booked up until the 6th of September. That's quite nice to know.
Yeah.
And then the plan is, you're going to hate this bit, we're going down to Provence, and we're going to spend a couple of months maybe down in Provence by the Mediterranean. And that'll take us up to about, say, end of October maybe. And then the plan from there is to go straight across into Spain. So we've got some friends just as you go across the border, so we're going to go and see them. Somebody I used to work with now lives down there, so we're going to pop in and see them. And then we are literally going to wander all the way down the coast in Spain, with a view to going sort of towards Malaga for Christmas. And the idea is then we will rent a house for a week or 10 days, and then all the family will come to Spain. So
right, okay.
Whereas before we were in England and it was one of those Christmases, so our son will come over, and Michelle's brother and whatever. And so we're going to celebrate Christmas and New Year in Spain with the family. And then we'll sort of stay around for a little bit. And then, like Michelle said, we've got to come back towards the end of February. We're going to nip back home again, only to get the van MOT, which is a real pain. But
that's going to be cold. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, we know. We just got to find some storage for the van. We don't know if we know anywhere that can do that, but we're working on that one.
We'll have a chat.
And then the plan is literally we will only stay in the UK for a while, won't be very long. And because next year we would like to do Italy. So we thought if we come back into France, rather than turning right, we'll turn left. And for 2023, we want to do the whole of Italy, down to Sicily and then back up the other coast. And then we'll go into Croatia then, once we get back up.
Yeah,
and then we'll see how it goes. Never been. So
no, we've never done that. So it'd be really nice.
Stunning. Do Slovenia as well. Lake Bled. It's just beautiful around there.
Yeah, we've heard about this.
Yeah,
but again,
amazing.
The trouble is we've got to come back to MOT the van, but we'll just nip back in, and then
we've got a year.
We've got a whole year. Yeah, we've got to cram these things in. So that's our sort of our long-term.
We'd like to do Portugal. We haven't done Portugal.
Yeah, we want to do. There's so many places, but it's just
well, there is loads of places.
Loads of places, and it's just having the time, and it's all fairly new at the moment still. I know we've been away for 2 months. We're still on that kind of learning curve with how the van works, how other things work. You know, we sort of come across things that we need for the first time. I mean, little silly things like I said, filling the gas up. Now that was a real issue for me because I was panicking, thinking, "Oh, I don't know how to do this and whatever," and it was fine. I mean, that was all fine. And
just knowing that you needed the adapters though to do it. So that'd be something people should make sure you've got the right adapters for your van.
I'm sorry we didn't talk about that before you went.
I never even thought about it, to be honest with you, Matt, and I didn't realise. But it's like another thing that I was unaware of. Obviously, is things like reverse polarity for your hookup over here.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So we got to one site and it was reverse polarity for the electric. And so that was causing us a bit of an issue. So being an ex-Boy Scout, I had a small lead in one of my boxes, which was a 3-pin adapter plug for if you're at home. And I literally cut the end off and bought a new adapter and made up my own. Yeah, I just made one.
Yeah, so this is reverse polarity is live and neutral and the wrong way for those that don't know what we're talking about. Yeah, which in France is very common, isn't it?
Well, you say that though. It's that we've been on 5 sites here. We've only had it on 1.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
only one
So
site's
far.
been. So
Are they all the blue C-form plug? The blue
all
one?
the
With,
standard? Yeah.
Okay.
We've not used our the European one which we bought. We haven't used it once yet. It's
No,
all
okay.
the
You'll find some of the
standard
older sites that still have that Schuko 2-pin plug.
Yeah. So
Increasingly
the newer ones,
not,
I mean, and the other thing we've noticed as well, and even on this site, a majority of sites now are service pitches. So all of we're finding that's more and more as well.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good, isn't it? Having a service pitch all the time.
Yeah, I think again, if you're sort of, I don't know, I maybe it's just going with age, but it's quite nice to go somewhere and have everything just there with you for you. It makes it so much easier with your van.
Yes.
I don't want to be too stressed and busy, man. I don't want to be too busy.
It just makes it so much. Yeah, I think anyway. When it's just nice to have a bit of comfort and but still be camping and just
It is. Yeah, there's all those, but it's just little things that you kind of pick up along the way. Like I said, the reverse polarity and other things, and but there's nothing that we didn't buy that we wish we had, is there? I mean, I know we came into your place and you very kindly helped us out with all the stuff, which was invaluable, because there's things that we wouldn't have necessarily bought that we did buy, that now it's paying dividends because we've got it with us. So
right,
I would have said the only thing we didn't get, and when we said at the beginning, but is an Axi card. Get that before
the Axi card is the only thing I can get. Anybody's thinking about doing any trips abroad. Because
we were a little bit inundated with everybody going, oh, buy this, you'll need this, and we were thinking a bit skeptical, do we really need to buy all these things? And the Axi card was one of those things where I said, oh, I don't think we need to buy it.
Yeah,
but actually it's worth what's it cost?
€20.
20 euros for a year, and you save that after the first site.
Well, I think staying here, we're here for 28 nights because Michelle's brother's come down. That's why we're here longer, which perhaps is a little bit too long, really, in hindsight. But I think it's costing us it's about £400 for the month.
Yeah, it's nothing, is it?
With the cost of living in England now and everything, I just think, gosh.
Well, I mean, you guys have come from a place where you're running a house, so that is nothing, is it?
Well, I hate to, our total outgoings now, apart from obviously campsite fees and anything to do with the van and food, our total monthly outgoings are £40 a month.
Wow.
So that's for 2 mobile phones. We have Spotify for your music and we have our Netflix, and that's it. That's all we have outgoings.
Yeah.
So that's
all you need, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, really. So
living the dream, I love it. I mean, I look at the whole hashtag van life on Instagram. We were talking about this just now, weren't we? And you see these youngsters that are doing what you're doing in a van they've converted, and there they are, slim, blonde, long hair, diving into a crystal pool, in the middle of nowhere. And he's svelte and ripped and very, athletic, and I'd look at it thinking, this is not my life, and, I mean, obviously you guys are both all those things, but
I wish.
No.
plus 30 years. But it's just remarkable that, I think the inspiration that you are to people that are considering this is immense. I mean, there you are. I mean, Paul, I know that you're 57. Michelle, you're quite a lot younger than that.
Yeah.
Well, a bit younger than that.
Thank you.
You look a lot younger than that. Obviously.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.
It's the tan. But what would you say to people that, are looking at this hashtag van life and seeing all these youngsters who are really, post grads that, they've had their first job and they've done a year of work and then they've gone, right, that's it, we're opting out. And there you are, the other end of that work spectrum, you've retired, you're in an age with a 5 at the beginning. What would you say to people thinking, oh, I'd love to do it, but, how would you tell them to change? What would you say to them to change that dream to a reality?
I think the thing for us is, and we all been saying this before we came away, it's easier to find a reason not to do something like this than it is to do it. And it's just taking that plunge. And at the end of the day,
and it isn't a massive plunge.
It's not.
You think it is because you think, oh, it's a bit scary. And I get that, because I think we probably did feel a little bit like that. But equally, I felt like this is just a new adventure. Let's do it, because we've been in lockdown and I think it's made us all reevaluate our lives. And we just thought, what's important?
Yeah.
what would we, if we're together and we're enjoying the outside, we love the outdoor lifestyle. What's not to love? It's a cheaper way of living. It's an easy way of living. It's
just so relaxing. And I think in my 57 years, I had quite a stressful job, and I don't think I've ever felt so relaxed and literally so chilled. And we look at each other occasionally over a small glass of wine, which we allow ourselves once a day, obviously. And we're sat outside and we look at each other. And I'll say to Michelle, what are you thinking about, or something? And she'll say, nothing.
Because what do you have to worry about?
There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to. The hardest thing that we have to worry about now is, what are we going to eat? And
what's for tea?
That's it. And so anybody that's considering it, you have to think, what is of value to you in your life? And like we said earlier on, your family is important, and your friends. And if you look at all your possessions in your house, if you actually look at it hard and think, really, am I that attached to that fridge, freezer, or that sofa, or whatever it may be? It's just a piece of furniture at the end of the day. And you keep your photographs, you keep your important things that you really want to keep, and the rest of it is just possessions. It doesn't make any difference whether you've got it or not. And I think at the bottom line is, your memories are the most important thing in your life. And we can always look back later in life when we're in some care home and go, do you know what? That was the best thing we've ever done. I could have retired and gone and got another job. I was offered another job when I retired, and it was a really well-paid job, and I could have stayed living where we were, and Michelle could have done some, whatever. But what have we achieved? All I'm doing is going to work every day when I've got the ability, or we have the ability to have an adventure. Yeah. And it's just having that bottle.
Change your scenery every now and, every few weeks.
Yeah.
Change where you are, so you don't, we don't have a garden to look after. Someone else looks after it for us, and we just sit in our little garden outside, and we change that scenery every few weeks, and you get to see life, and you meet so many campers, and we've talked to so many people who've said, gosh, we're really jealous of, and we wish we were doing
our
it.
age, our sort of age.
And we're saying, well, why aren't you doing it? But a lot of people, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but they've got grandchildren and they don't want to leave them and come and do this.
Yeah.
So what I would say is,
don't leave it too late.
Don't leave it too late. In some respects, do it now at our age before you have grandchildren, so that you can go and enjoy it and not have any of those guilt things. But equally, if you have got grandchildren, you could do it.
Of course, I guess there's never a right time to go, really, is there? It's just now. I suppose there is a wrong time, and you guys have timed it brilliantly, haven't you? So you've got parents in the mix who are still able, they don't need you there. Your son is, independent. He hasn't got any of his own kids yet. So you've kind of got this window, haven't you?
Yeah. And that window could be...
That's what pushed us, I think. We both said, after lockdown, and then with what's going on in England now, with all the price, hikes and stuff, you just think, come on, let's just do it. Let's just go.
My parents summed it up quite well, I thought. When I went and spoke to them, they're in their 80s, and they've always travelled and done things, and I explained what we would like to do, and I said, look, how do you feel about this? And, you're okay with it? And both my mum and dad looked up and they said, if you don't do this, we'll be really disappointed in you. Oh. They used the disappointed word, which I haven't had for a long time. And I just thought it was interesting that my mum and dad were so keen for us to do it in their 80s. And when we speak to them once a week, they're so keen to find out what we've been doing.
And they plot it.
They plot it on the map. My dad's got a map and he plots where we're going. And so it's really nice that we have that sort of to chat about as well. Yeah. And I think it's just like Michelle said, it's the timing, but don't put it off. Don't think, I'll do it next year or do it the year after, or we don't know how long we've all got. Let's just make the most of the time we have.
Seize the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't know what's around the corner.
And don't be mistaken that material things are important. I used to think that how much money you had and the car you had and things like that are important, and they're not.
Yeah,
what's important is,
I think it's easy to say that, and I think it's easy to think it, but to actually do something about it, which is sell them all off and get rid of them, like you guys. I mean, you sold your house.
We did. We sold the cars, and like I said,
I take my hat off to you.
Away. But I mean,
but we just, I don't think we're ever going to regret this. I don't think,
no, not at all.
There's nothing we miss. And that's what I'd say to to people is do it because you're not going to miss anything.
I think you've got to get the right motorhome because it's got to be comfortable, and it's got to be, because it doesn't become a chore. Living in our motorhome is not a chore because we've got the right layout for us. So the bed's probably made up. Do your research.
You get the right one for you.
But don't necessarily, we haven't planned like a fixed route. This is where we're going to be, and so. And this, we're very flexible in what we do in our journey, because like we said earlier, sometimes we may go somewhere we like it, we'll stay a bit longer, and sometimes we may go somewhere and think, well, that's not really, we've seen it now, let's go somewhere else. So we haven't got a fixed route, have we?
And don't worry, because you can do that. You
don't need to pre-book, and just go for it and have fun. And it's all about having fun at the end of the day. You're never too old to have fun.
No.
And we celebrated our silver wedding anniversary the week before last over here.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But we were sat here, and we went to a lovely little restaurant in the local town and had an amazing meal. But we kind of look at each other still after this time. We look at each other and go, are we really doing this? And it
just feels like a holiday, but I keep thinking it's not a holiday. This is a lifestyle.
This is your life. Yeah.
This is it. We don't wake up to an alarm clock anymore.
We just eat. You eat when you feel hungry. You go off on your bikes. You explore. There's nothing to bring you home for. You have to come home for a certain time.
Lie by the pool and send me pics of your toes in a pool in the foreground.
Yeah. There'll be more of those, Matt. Don't worry. But the only thing we did buy is we bought 2 e-bikes, which we've got on the back of the van. Anybody thinking about doing anything, I would strongly recommend
get e-bikes.
I know you've got e-bikes in the shop, but they are the best thing. I haven't ridden a bike for 40 years.
Right.
And it came as a bit of a shock. I think that's an understatement. We've actually, Michelle's brother's bringing with him some padded pants, cycling pants,
because you do feel it.
Because you kind of know about it. We've had to change the saddles already from the tiny ones to the gel seats. We've done that.
Good.
But we've done 230 miles on our bikes already.
Brilliant.
It just gives you the freedom, and without that it doesn't make it a chore. You enjoy it more.
We've got panniers on the back of the bikes, so we actually go and do our weekly food shop on our push bikes.
Brilliant.
And we can get all our food in the panniers, and a rucksack and whatever. And so we've got those. The other thing we've got in the garage, we bought 2 stand-up paddleboards. So the paddleboards are in the back as well. So we've used them already. So if we're on a site or close by, we've got a lake or river or whatever. We're not quite confident enough for the sea yet, because I don't think we'd get that far.
Especially not here, it's the Atlantic.
Yeah. So we bought paddleboards as well. And so we've got those for later on and when we get down to the Dordogne. But the e-bikes, I cannot stress, buy e-bikes if you're going to get anything.
Yeah, they're great. On your way down to Dordogne, there's lots of inland lakes.
That's what I'm hoping to.
This is what we're hoping for.
Yeah, beautiful. They're all fresh water, of course, but they're very placid, so you'll make good use of the paddle boards.
Well, we're both novices, although Michelle has actually stood up on her board. I haven't got that far yet.
Okay.
We're still learning.
You're treating it as a lido.
Yeah. But that's the other thing with life. You wake up in the morning and you kind of just go, okay, what should we do today? What do you fancy doing?
Mm.
So, later on today, we've got a cycle route which we want to go and explore a bit more of the island. So a bit later on, after we've spoken to yourself, we're going to go off for the rest of the day on our bikes. We'll probably stop somewhere for a little bit of lunch. We have to have the obligatory ice cream. I don't know. I think it's law in France. You have to have an ice cream.
It's the rules.
And and then it's the rules. And then we come back and we found this very, very nice rosé wine over here, which would you believe is €2 a bottle, which you think is going to be horrible, but it is very nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they do hike up the prices when they export their wine.
Yeah, so €2 for a bottle of wine, which is very nice. But so that's today's plan, and then we don't sort of even think too far ahead. We might just stay here and go to the pool one day or the afternoon, or go for a walk. I mean, we do more exercise now.
Oh, we never did anywhere near the amount that we did at home. That's the other thing, you know. Right. You go home and after work and you sit and you probably put the telly on and you know you might just pop out in the garden and come back in. Well, we do exercise every day because you have to, because you've got a van that's parked up, so you have to go on your bike or you go for a walk or you said, oh, the weather's lovely. Why would you never sit in the van, do we?
No. We're about 100 meters from the sea here. And we tend to eat in the evenings, sort of 7, 8 o'clock, whatever. And then we go for a walk and we walk down by the sea and
brilliant.
You know, it's just bliss. Or we take the bikes out. There's a few social things happening locally this week, so we'll go to those. But yeah, it's just like Michelle said, you're
much healthier,
much healthier lifestyle.
Yeah,
by far healthier lifestyle.
So if that's not a big incentive to do it, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I'm there. My days. I've got accounts this afternoon. Team meeting later on. Yeah, totally different day to yours. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Well, look, thank you both.
I'll send you a picture of the cycle ride.
Please, I'm sure you will. Yeah. But look, both of you, thank you so much for taking time out of your hectic, relaxed schedule.
It's fine. We need to lie down now.
It's fine.
You're both looking really well and looking like you're loving it. So yeah, stay safe, won't you? And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
And we'll revisit you on your next, in your next country.
Well, what an amazing experience those guys are in for and having. I think they're really brave. I take my hats off to them. Hopefully for you, if you've got that dream to give up conventional life and head off in a motorhome, I hope they've inspired you. I really do. Any of us can do it. It's just taking that step, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. And having listened to them, I must admit, I'm coming round to the idea. Whereas before I heard the interview, I saw them, that I wasn't so sure. But it does seem like people, the freedom of the open road, it does beckon, doesn't it? There's something in all of us.
Once you get that bug, as Paul said, driving through Spain, he just had that moment where he's like, we have to do this. And what I love is that he just sold the house and didn't tell his wife.
That's the amazing thing. How he's still breathing, I'll never know. It's the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden. I'm with Motorhome Matt Sims, the expert that gives you all the answers. And talking about answers, we've been asking you to get in touch, and you have been. And thank you very much for doing that. This week, we have some emails from you. Matt.
We do, yeah. Thanks to Toby Craig. Toby's emailed in to, good morning. I'm not brave enough to recite a voice message, so I'm going to go old school. Good for you. I have a van with a 6-kilo Cala bottle in it. I'm interested in adding a single bottle LPG system and would like your thoughts. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work. Oh, bless you, Toby. Thank you for listening and thanks for your support. Well, so what Toby's talking about here is binning off his Cala gas bottle, the one you take back to the shop and you get a refill. You have to have an empty.
The one you use for your Barbie.
Yeah, the ones that are really hard to get hold of. We've got loads in stock, so we're okay in our shop. But across the country, this is a problem. Maybe that's what's motivated this question. And what Toby's looking at is putting a refillable bottle in that he can refill himself. So there are lots of brands of bottles that you can buy that do this. I'd say that it's a great idea, especially if you're going out of the UK onto the continent. So if you're going, Cala is only a UK product. You can't buy a Cala gas bottle anywhere else on the continent. In fact, if you buy a refillable bottle in Germany or in France, you're going to have to change the hose that goes onto it. So, and you're going to have to impact the system of the motorhome.
It's strange that you say that, actually, because calor is Spanish for heat from a fire. If it's a nice sunny day, you'd say mucho calor, rather than caliente for a hot food. So it's strange, isn't it? You can't use it on the continent, but it's actually a Spanish word.
Look at that. You're not just a pretty face, are you?
I'm not a pretty face.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. Well, anyway, so you have to change your regulator, the connector, to get onto the German bottle. So people that are travelling the continent have a refillable bottle. People in the UK use them as well, because you can go to, and the purpose of these bottles, you go to a fuel station where there is an auto gas and you can refill the bottle yourself. And it's much cheaper than buying Cala bottles, I have to say. And the bottle just stays in the motorhome. On the continent, though, you have to have an external refill point. It's often the rules are vary in different country, from country to country. So you have to refill the bottle from an external point. You're not allowed to get the bottle out and refill it on the forecourt like you would a canister for petrol. You know, you're not allowed to do that. So it has to be a bottle that you can have an external refill point. In this country, you can refill a bottle. As far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can take it out of the motorhome and refill it on the forecourt. And there are brands like Safe Fill that will allow you to do that. There are refillable bottles that are permanently in the van. One of the best known is Gaslow. They're yellow bottles. They come in varying sizes, and you can have 1 or 2 bottles permanently in your gas cupboard if they fit, and the refill point on the outside. And my view on them, Toby's saying, is they're a great idea, especially if you're going on the continent, because the gas connector in the fuel stations is the same across Europe. That's the big difference, whereas the gas bottles are all different. So Cala, as I say, is UK centric. They are quite expensive to buy. You are looking between probably £500 to £1,000 to have a system installed, but you will recoup that cost quite quickly the longer you're using the gas system. So I've not done the maths on this, but if you were going travelling on the continent for a year, definitely get a Gaslow system or refillable bottle system. Safe Fill, Alugas, Gaslow. There are a number. At BP have a bottle as well. But make sure you check what you're allowed to do in the country you're visiting. So, for example, in Belgium, you definitely cannot take the bottle out of the motorhome to refill it. It has to be an external fixed point that you refill the motorhome. The consideration in this country, if you're staying in this country, the gas pumps, the auto gas, are slowly disappearing. Because the days of buying a 5-litre petrol car and converting it to gas are gone. I mean, nobody's bothering to do that anymore. That's an industry that's just dying away. So they are disappearing. So if you're considering buying this system and you are going to spend most of your time in the UK, I'd challenge, is there a gas refill point close to you? Here, where we are near Weston-super-Mare today, that there isn't one very close by. So it's not really a very convenient system for us. A blend of 2 could be an option. You have 1 refillable bottle, and that will cover off when you're on the continent, and a backup Cala bottle for when you're in the UK. And for me, that's what I would do if I was doing this. But if I was spending all my time on the continent, refillable bottles, absolutely.
Thanks very much, Toby, for getting in touch. Now, something which comes up all the time in these podcasts, and I suppose it's important if you're out there on the road, what to do with your poo. And Elspeth contacts us from Scotland, I hear.
She does. Elspeth, thanks for your email. I'll read it out. I've read the script of the above podcast. This is the wild camping episode that we did, and found it very sensible and down to earth. Thank you, Elspeth. That's very kind of you. However, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that in many remote rural areas, especially in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland, homes are not connected to a main sewer, but have their own septic tank, which has to be emptied at their expense. This is also true of public toilets in these areas, so it's very important for visitors to understand why they cannot put the contents of their chemical toilet into these toilets. They must do their homework and check where their disposal points are and be prepared to pay. Nothing is free.
Especially in Scotland. Wow. Sorry. No, we've talked about this before, and if you're using the blue chemical, you said that must not go into a septic tank or a self-contained system, but if you're using the green biochemical, that is okay for septic tank.
That is okay. But how do you know if that toilet's connected to a main sewer or a septic tank?
Well, you don't.
Well, you wouldn't. So you'd have to ask. So if you're not sure, don't put blue into the loo. Hey, that rhymed.
It did. You're a poet and you didn't even know.
You're rubbing off on me. So the key is to check with the toilet owner, whether that's a campsite or if it's a public loo, you'd have no idea. But I think it's safe to say, and Elspeth is making this point, a public loo in the middle of the Highlands or on the Isle of Skye is likely to be connected to a septic tank. So if you're doing that kind of trip to very, very remote areas, just take the green toilet chemical and just use green. It's friendlier for the environment, certainly, and it's an essential must-have if you're using toilets that might be connected to or are connected to a septic tank.
Thanks, Elspeth. We always come back to the subject of poo and wastewater, and that's fine. It's a big deal in motorhoming and caravanning. So don't stop asking those questions or sending those emails. So just finally in the podcast then, Matt, how do people get in touch?
They can easily do that. You can send us your question at motorhomematt.co.uk/ask Matt, and you can record your question and submit it, or you can just fill out the form if you're too you're not brave enough to record your voice, that's fine. You just email us on that page. There's a form to get in touch with us. You'll find us on Instagram as well, motorhomematt.co.uk.